Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the Chicago Burlington and Quincy Railroad and the Chicago and Northwestern Railway in Wyoming. Today is December 3rd, 2023, and this is layout update number 49. I'm Mark Pruitt, Master Mechanic, but you may not think so once you see this video. Well, the first thing for this month, the winner of the 1,000 subscriber hopper car giveaway is, and let me read this, Gust Looking 3869. That's Gust Looking 3869. Congratulations. Send me your address and I'll get that hopper car out to you right away. To get my email address, do this. Go to my channel homepage. In the middle of the page near the top, you'll see a round picture of a railroad track. Just to the right of that is a line that begins with "This channel is about." Click on that line and then click on View Email Address under the Channel Details heading on the pop-up that appears. If you can't find my email address for some reason, leave a note in the comment section of this video and we'll figure something else out. Moving on, you may have noticed in some of the intro sections on my earlier videos that my face is in a little bit of shadow at times. Well, thanks to the generosity of the channel patrons, that will no longer be a problem. I was able to combine their donations with some of my own funds and purchase a couple of really nice LED studio lights. Thanks, guys! I'm just learning how to use these lights, so the intro sections on the next few videos may look a little funny as I do some experimenting to try to find the right settings. But at least my face won't be in shadow anymore, and I guess I should apologize for that right now. Well, let's take a look and see what happened on the layout this month. We'll start with the S2 Pacific. We left it last month with the gearbox removed from the loco. I ordered some small brass washers to use as fillers to reduce the ridiculous amount of lash that was present in the worm shaft. The washers arrived the middle of this month and I installed 3 of them on the shaft. That took up most of the space, but still left room for the worm to turn freely. I reinstalled the gear tower in the mechanism and attached the motor to the worm using a bit of silicone tubing. Then I used adhesive caulk, the same kind I use to glue down track, to attach the motor to the frame. I took pains to get the motor and worm shafts aligned as closely as possible. I let the caulk dry overnight, then tested the mechanism. As expected, it didn't run very smoothly. After lubricating everything and adjusting clearances, straightening the crosshead guides and such, I got what appears to be reasonably smooth performance out of the unit. I still think that once I've got the decoder installed and the locomotive totally reassembled, I'll have to tweak the mechanism a bit more to fine-tune the running qualities. I set the loco aside for the rest of the month to work on other things. I'll get back to it this month. Right after I posted last month's video, I had a near disaster on the layout. The kitchen drain pipe began leaking at a faulty joint and began dripping water onto Thermopolis and the plaster in Wind River Canyon. Of course, this happened on a Friday afternoon. Fortunately, I saw the water dripping and put a plastic drop cloth over the area before any real damage occurred. The plaster was wet, but not eroded. I could have fixed the pipe myself, but to be honest, I just didn't want to deal with it. I hired a plumber, which meant I had to wait until Monday. But that afternoon the pipe was repaired and everything is fine again. With the leak repaired, I got right back to work on the canyon. It was time to paint hydrocal over all that new plaster cloth that went onto the canyon walls in late October. First, I wetted the plaster cloth so that it wouldn't suck all the water out of the hydrocal. If it did, the hydrocal wouldn't harden properly. Then I mixed up small batches of hydrocal in a big glass measuring cup. I'd start with half a cup or so of water. I didn't measure it out, just poured some in the cup until I had 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in the bottom, then added some cheap acrylic paint to tint the mix. After that, I slowly sprinkled the plaster into the water, stirring constantly. Adding plaster this way ensures a smooth mix by not allowing lumps to form. When I got something about the consistency of thin pancake batter, it was ready to go. I applied the hydrocal to the plaster cloth by brushing it on with the cheapest brushes I could buy. I worked from top to bottom in narrow strips. Even though it only takes a few minutes to apply the hydrocal, it's already thickening up by the time I get the last bits onto the canyon. Then I clean the cup, brush, and mixing spatula before doing the next batch. By the 10th of the month, I had all the areas with 2 layers of plaster cloth coated with hydrocal. The uncoated cloth at the far end is only a single layer, with another layer of cloth still to come before the hydrocal is added. I'm not worried about the difference in color of the hydrocal, because the color is just to avoid glaring white spots if the hydrocal is chipped. Pretty much all of the hydrocal will be covered by a combination of rock castings, soil, and vegetation when scenery is complete. Over the next week, I added more plaster cloth to the canyon in between doing other work on the layout. By the 19th, I'd gone as far as I can around the end of the peninsula. From this point around into Thermopolis, I still need to define the basic contours with more pink styrofoam. But I had more than enough to do adding hydrocal to the new areas of plaster cloth. By the 22nd, all the cloth had been coated. Pretty impressive expanse of plasterwork, isn't it? Later that day, I took the tape off the track. One of those other things I was doing was making some progress on the Powder River stock pens. On the 10th of the month, I added the dark tile grout to the pens and the surrounding area to represent the constantly disturbed ground where the animals' hooves churned everything up. The ground is further darkened by the animals' droppings. I managed to get the grout in place without the base warping all over the place this time, but it still didn't look too good. I thought the grout would fill the gaps between the base and the surrounding landform, but as you can see, it didn't. To fill the gaps, I turned once again to good old adhesive caulk. This stuff has a million uses around the layout. I laid a bead around 3 sides of the pens, then spread and smoothed it out using my fingers. I didn't bother with the track side of the pens because you can't really see it, and track ballast will hide that gap in any case. Then I applied more grout, trying to blend it out into the surrounding undisturbed soil. I wasn't real successful with the blending part, but I hoped adding vegetation would fix that. On the 22nd, Dave came down from Basin and we spent several hours working on the scenery around the pens. We added static grasses, small shrubs and such, and began adding grass tufts around the corral posts. Here's Dave reaching for the sheet of grass tufts to pluck one off and place it at another post. By the end of the day, we had this. There's still some more work to do, like finishing the area between the siding and the main line, adding watering troughs to the pens, and finishing the dirt road where the trucks are parked, but all in all, it doesn't look too bad, I think. Anybody have any suggestions for more details in this scene? Just for fun, I made this trackside video of a C&W train rolling past the pens on the way to Casper. The last significant project of the month was renumbering this Bachmann 10-wheeler. I have 2 of these. This one that I got used last December and this one that I bought new around 20 years ago. One of them needed renumbering, and since this one was already weathered, that meant doing the other one. Since I was going to be renumbering it anyway, I decided to do a little research and see if I could find out which 10-wheelers actually ran in the Casper area. I found photos of 7 different locos taken in Casper and settled on this one. I picked it because it's the only one that had the CNW logo and not the engine number on the tender. Since the model has the logo on the tender sides, this would be easiest to do. After spending quite a bit of time removing the number from the back of the tender using Vallejo airbrush thinner, I switched over to using 91% alcohol on the cab sides and dome. I knew the alcohol might also take off the paint, but hey, what the heck, I can always repaint it. Sure enough, the paint came off with the number. I touched up the paint, but it looked like crap. Besides, I looked at the prototype photos again and saw that these locos all had a small R1 under the cab number, which represents the class of the locomotive, and not the alphabet soup you see on the model. So I decided the best thing to do was to clean the paint off the entire panel below the cab window. I flipped the loco over to start fresh on the other side. In short order, I had the panel completely cleaned off. That was much easier than I thought. That panel sure has a metallic look to it, doesn't it? I carefully applied Vallejo black paint using a brush. Except for the sheen, it came out pretty good. That was a surprise, considering I'm the one that did it. I removed the number from the dome and touched up the paint there too, then added a gloss coat to get ready for the decals. A few days later, I had that side completed. The cab looks pretty rough, but I did manage to get the decals straight. When I was applying the decals, a bit of the paint came up, and repairing that accounts for some of the roughness. The camera tends to accentuate the unevenness of the surfaces. In person, it looks better than this, really. Besides, from a distance, it looks much better, doesn't it? Weathering should hide much of the roughness, and a final dull finish coat will de-emphasize it even more, so I think it'll be fine. If not, I'll just redo it. The next day, the 29th of November, I did the other side. The numbers on the side of the cab aren't quite in line, but an investigation by the shop foreman revealed that the painter had a liquid lunch before he painted the numbers. He has been properly dealt with. As with the right side, the camera accentuates every little defect. It doesn't look so bad in person, but I may decide to redo this side even so. We'll see. I've added 4 new cars to the fleet since the last update. This W&N box car, a LaBelle kit, and this WN car from an unknown builder. Both of these cars came from Bill in Sheridan. He's a lot better with decals than I am, isn't he? This main central car, an AccuRail kit, was also added, and I finally finished the last car of the set of 10 beat hoppers, 9 of which I built last year. I forgot about this one at the time because I put it back in its box for some reason and only discovered it a couple of months ago. Looking close at the number, you can see that at least the loco looks better than this. And yeah, I know the car's not on the track. I also finished and weathered the 1,000 subscriber giveaway car. This is what you're going to get, Gus Looking 3869. The last thing for this month is the big news of the channel reaching 1,000 subscribers. Folks really responded when I mentioned in the last update that we were close, and I sure do appreciate it. In the 11 days after that video posted, 55 people subscribed to the channel. That's a record in itself. As of now, the channel has 1,009 subscribers. Thank you all very, very much. That's everything for the month of November. This month, I'm going to try to make some more progress on the S2 and maybe extend the scenery a bit further west from the Powder River stock pens towards Shobon. I have a painted but undecorated Bachmann consolidation that I may decal for the Burlington, so be sure to tune in to the next update to see if my decaling skills are improving. I might build a few more freight cars, and of course there will be the second annual Christmas Day layout tour. I'll also start construction of Powell if time permits. I did do some track planning for the town, and tomorrow Dave and I are heading up to Powell to do some research. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe, have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next month.